athletes, and Southern really played a steady, error-free football game and put themselves in a position to win at the end, but their defense was outstanding, and they ended up shutting Illinois State out. So, and that was on the road. So, they're getting stronger. Offensively, two really good running backs, exceptional running backs, great speed at running back, and they got a real good tight end. So they're starting to play well there, but the two running backs are exceptional, have been all season.
Did you, you have sort of a checklist of the bye, did you get done what you needed to get done?
I think I'll find out more about the bye week this week, what we got accomplished. We actually practiced Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday last week. Tried to get, our players, some of the things that we need to get accomplished in the classroom. Tried to get caught up there. Got a couple good days in the weight room, but got 3 good days on the practice field. So we'll go back at it today, and hopefully we'll find out that, hopefully they'll have a fresh look walking in the door today.
So Mark, on Carlos Anderson, what have you thought of his contributions so far? Were you hoping that maybe he would have contributed more?
Well, Carlos, he probably didn't start out the way he'd hoped or we had hoped, and probably had a lot to do with who we're playing and the way, early on in the season, trying to rush the football against those good teams. So, and then we went with David, got a little bit more recognition as far as the run game. But I thought what really stood out about Carlos is how he came back off not getting the ball as a running back and turned in the 157 yards against Youngstown in return yards, and has really taken the leadership role as far as how you can contribute outside of your primary position for others to see. So I think that's what's kind of stood out to him, is for me, from him, is how he took hold of special teams. He's on the kickoff team now, the kickoff return. He's on the punt return team. So he's a part of every special team, and he's asking to get on those because, he wants to contribute any way he can besides just that tailback.
Mark, has the healthier team gotten any better?
Pardon me?
The healthier team gotten any better?
Again, I think I'll find out today. I've been asked that a couple times, and when I see them today and tomorrow, I think I'll have a better feel for where they're at based off where they left last week. But it was hard to practice some of those guys last week because we're trying to get them back. So we held a couple guys out and still tried to get good work in because we had to go live in some areas to get the work we needed.
What about Brett Lemaster with that concussion? Is he coming back?
Yeah, he came back out of it last week, so he's actually should be back on the field today.
Another question on Carlos, if I could. I think his rushing and receiving combined is only about 40 yards or so per game. Moving forward, do you see a greater role, an increased role for him?
Yeah, I think it has to be to win. I think, and not just Carlos. I think we need to do a better job rushing the football, and Carlos is a part of that. So, his contribution is no question on the offensive side of the ball. Has to be more prevalent in every football game as a whole. Just rushing the football and throws out of the backfield to our running back. Those things are key to our offense in every season we play, and we have to get more yardage from that, in weeks to come.
Is part of it that David Johnson's really good, and David's the #1 tailback, and Carlos is just #2, and that's the way it is?
Well, I think David, there were about 50-50 early in the season for the first couple of games. David kind of started taking a hold on the position when we were game planning Youngstown, I think, is when that really started to come about, and maybe the Iowa game. But up until that point, it was 50-50. So I still think to win that it has to be 50-50. I think David is exceptional. I think Carlos is too. But to win, I think both of them are going to have to be 100-yard rushers for us. And how we do that, we still got to get 100-yard rusher first. So, we need to do a better job on the offensive line, and we can't just rely on throwing the football all the time.
Mark, Xavier Williams, I think, has 16 of his 23 tackles in the last 2 games. Can you talk a little about how his game has evolved now since the beginning of the year and when he's over here?
Yeah, Xavier's I believe a redshirt sophomore, so he's gotten better each game that he's played for us. Just because of being on the field, you kind of get a better feel for it. So he's been more productive. I think he's probably in better shape, more in the football shape he needs to be now than maybe he was at the first football game. So he's getting more playing time. We're not alternating him quite as much because he is a factor inside, and he runs well enough that he's good in pass rush. So we'll leave him on the field, when we can. But he's still at the point we need him in the fourth quarter, so we're going to have to rotate him in and out so we get a good fourth quarter out of him too.
Mark, on defense, in the conference so far, there's been seems like some significant changes among the defensive assistant coaches this year, and I'm sure they're all really good, or you wouldn't have hired them. But is that part of it, giving up 42 and then 33, that to get all the defensive coaches on the same page? Has that been a factor?
Well, yeah, there's no question that's been a factor. I mean, anytime you're moving, you got new coaches and new players, which is a deadly combination sometimes, because you're trying to get your coaches prepped, and at the same time, what we relay to the players, and that all takes time. And sometimes it takes game experience to get them to really understand it, the coach as much as a player. So, I've got great young assistants, but they're adapting to how we play versus how maybe they played and the systems they were in. So they're adapting, and it's the same thing as players. You just kind of grow as a group, and you got to accelerate that. Where we're at right now, that acceleration hopefully happens, and really that bye week is important for that too. But we spent last week recruiting as well, because we got out on the road and got a chance to get out, and yet still take the time with their current football players. So that's all part of it, but that's being at this level too, is you're going to roll guys through.
You had mentioned, I think a week ago, that you were looking at some possible position changes. Is that evaluating process continue now during this week?
Yeah, I was moving guys as early as this morning. I really went back and looked at our personnel over the first 5 games, and then I went back and watched our 3 practices, because we did a lot of competitive stuff in practice. So I really went back to make sure the right guys are on the field as much as in the right position, and where can they help us going into the second half of the season. So I think I've got a handle on it. I'll still make a decision even before this practice where to move one more guy. So I'm still shaking there a little bit. It's getting closer.
Is there a
Any key moves you
particular
can tell us
position?
about? Any key moves you can tell us about at that?
Not right now. I don't want to surprise the player yet. So, but no, it'll be nothing that's outrageous. But at the same time, you always try to get the right guys in the right spot, and I really look at how they run, their body leans, or what they're really good at, with just instinctively. So I really try to look at their instincts and make sure they're fit in the right place as much as in the right position mentally for them too. So all those things went into thought this past week, and a couple of trials and errors, but I think we will move up. There'll be a couple guys that probably move to be more productive for us, I hope.
Is there a couple positions you're trying to shore up, whether it's line or defense or offense?
Yeah, and it is. It's more, the depth, because, you go back and you look at what's left on your schedule, and you want to make sure that you can put a plan in that you can, if somebody gets hurt, you continue with the plan. And there's some guys now that are totally out, especially at our nickel position, our one Sam linebacker. I mean, we've lost 2 players there. We've got a cut comp, had surgery and is done for the season, and Sam Tim's got a broken hand. So we're trying to shore that up and strengthen that position. And I think we've got a couple young guys that are finally had enough playing time now, or at least practice experience, that they can help us in games. So I think there's a couple freshmen that we could play as early as this week, with the danger of you're playing with more young guys again. So, your plan and your experience kind of got to fit. And that's that last piece of the puzzle that I'm putting together this week.
As the league's evolving and we get deeper into the race, any thought on what happened with North Dakota State, Youngstown State on Saturday?
I was surprised that North Dakota State won that handily, but it doesn't really surprise me sometimes playing at their place, and that was the second year in a row Youngstown went there. So North Dakota State's playing well right now, and they have a real good. They got one exceptional corner, and so they can do some things. And then I think their quarterback, I think he got Player of the Week. So I didn't see his stats, but I always thought I told our group here that I think their quarterback makes that whole offense go, because he's, throwing 70% accuracy, and when he can move the chains and plus their run game, I think he's the difference in it. And any time I think they got a good defensive line that's helping in the run game. So it surprised me they stopped Youngstown as well as they did, but it didn't surprise me, that they won at North Dakota State. They're a
Mark,
good
I
team.
know coaches don't pay attention to polls a lot, but last week you set a valley record with 99 straight weeks. Just talk about how this program has been able to sustain that success for so long.
How many weeks?
99 straight weeks.
Really? I knew it was coming around, I didn't know if we're gonna make it. It's been sustained. One, you have to have a great university and administrative support. I don't care what else, you have to have that first. We've always had that here at UNI. We've always had community support, we've always had, football's important here, and football has been presented, it's important to our administration, our athletic department. So first you have to have that. Secondly, you have to have a good state and a good geographical area to recruit from. And I think we fit the state of Iowa because there's so many players that fit our program. And I think that has helped us, sustain the level that we're at. And I also just think that, those are the two primary things. It's the excitement that rubs off and the expectation to always be there. And even when you're 1-4, you're still expected, to be in one game better. So that helps you push yourself every day as athletes as much as coaches. So you put all those things together, three things together, I think you'll always have a chance to be successful here at UNI.
Came back to your linebackers for the coach here. Sam Tim, does he have a chance to play this weekend? Is he out or?
Now, Sam Tim's been practicing, but I just hated him. I played him in that game against North Dakota State, and they put that big old club on him. And it's the same thing that happened to James Conley when he had the big club on him. They're not the player they are without the club, and that thing is huge on them. And they just can't make the plays and play in space and get off blocks like you want them to. So they try like heck. Sam has tried his tail off. Now I think he can get to a smaller cast and be more effective, but I've yet to see that. If he's in the club, then I got some issues. If he's got his hand, he's very effective. So he just needs that other hand to be able to get off blocks and do stuff. So I'm waiting to see where that goes as far as downsizing that cast.
Mark, I was just looking at two stats that kind of stand out. Your opponents are controlling the ball 35 minutes a game, and they're hitting on 49% of their third down. Do those numbers tell something about your team, or do they concern you at all, those two numbers?
No, they're very concerning. Two other stats that echo that are we don't have any turnovers. You throw out the Central Ohio game, we don't have any turnovers. We haven't got an intercept and very few sacks. And so we're not creating it. It goes right in hand that your 49% third down ratio, well, that's when you should be getting intercepts and sacks. And rushing the football, they're rushing the ball too well on us, and that's the time of possession. So it goes back to being able to control the line of scrimmage, because that controls the clock, and third down conversion is your turnover that we're not getting. So we have to pick that intensity up at the line of scrimmage and on third downs if we're going to be effective. So yeah, that's the concern and that's the emphasis as we go forward.
Back to the Southern Illinois win over Illinois State, I know you touched on it, but how surprised were you that they were able to shut out Illinois State, who was one of the more high-scoring offenses in the league, to get a shutout of them?
I was very surprised on the shutout. I was surprised on the score. It's at Illinois State, and I think Illinois State has exceptional players. So it just tells me they were very sound, they were very disciplined, doing those things on the road, and it wasn't an outrageous score. I mean, they just played solid football, and their offense didn't get their defense in trouble, and their defense played the field possession game and won the game. So they played a very disciplined football game. So that's the thing that that stands out. So I think we all can learn from is, I'm watching some of these scores on Saturdays anymore, and it's 69-52, and and there are great defenses out there and great teams out there, and they're putting up 60 points, and this game has changed. And I look at the Southern Illinois State game, and that wasn't very high scoring, and one team got shut out. So you weigh all those things out, and you try to look at what you're doing and where this game is going. You make sure that you keep pace and try to stay in the polls for another week, because man, it's a battle every week. So, but I think we're excited to get back on the field. It'll be fun to see them this week. I've been waiting just to get them so they have that energy back and get them back on the field, and then start building off this week and going into the rest of this second half of the season.
Coach, it seems like the pass rush has certainly struggled so far this season. How do you and the staff go about trying to remedy that and to try and get more pressure on the opposing team's quarterback?
Well, that's the catch-22 question. Is how do you create the pressure without giving up points? And we've done both. We've given up, but we've pressured and given up points, and it comes down to you got to win the one-on-ones. I mean, no matter how much I draw and how much I put on the board, until you win the one-on-one battles, you know, you got, and it's up to us to get them in a position they can win the one-on-one. And then they gotta be able to do it too. So it's a 50-50 split. We gotta give them a little bit better position, give them a better angle, and they gotta win the one-on-one. And we gotta get home in a hurry, because that ball's coming out. We've played some good quarterbacks now. And that ball's coming out on time, and it's cost us. And at the same time, we just gotta win that third down. It goes back to, you know, your question, John. We gotta win the third down, but you gotta win the first down. It's a lot easier to win 3rd and 10 than it does 3rd and 1. So, anybody else?
Anything else you can share with us about playing this Southern Illinois team that you've learned about them in your bye week?
I don't know what I've learned about them. I just know this. It really is. I'm concerned about our football team and playing with the intensity that we need to play with. And that's the most concerning part. The X's and O's and all that stuff they'll get. But we need to play at a very intense, passionate level for 4 quarters if you're gonna beat anybody. And especially when you go on the road. And this is I was talking to a guy leaving the Dome. You know, we've only had 2 home games, so this is the 4th or 5th one on the road now. So we have to learn how to do it on the road. And we're making mistakes. We play well, and then we make a mistake, and that mistake costs us. And then we're out there for more time possession on the clock. So we can't make mistakes on defense to keep us on the field, and we gotta convert the 3rd down to create the momentum. Somebody's gotta kick in the momentum here. The offense or the defense or a kick return, somebody's gotta kickstart us, and then we gotta keep the thing running once it gets started. And we just gotta get the thing kick-started right now, because we're sputtering. And that was the purpose of the off week. Did a lot of kicking. So anybody else? All right, thanks.